Chester.
Hey, everybody. Mr. Carlos Alazraqui,
everybody. Sorry, there's not more. Here? Oh, you don't even need it, huh? It's like a theater.
Hello.
You know why I'm late? Very good, parents! Fairies! They took me in the wrong direction.
Now, Carlos, you've been part of not just an iconic cartoon series. You've been part of many iconic cartoon shows. You headline Rocko's Modern Life.
Yes.
You have shown up in SpongeBob, of course.
What's up, SpongeBob? All right. Scooter, you ripped your pants. Awesome.
Fairly OddParents.
Yes.
The Loud House.
Loud House and now Casa Grandes,
Yes.
which is a spin-off coming in October officially. They already had a Thanksgiving episode.
One of my favorite Batman villains.
Bane. When we fought before, I broke the bat. This time, I break the man.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I found that talking to a lot of voice actors, everybody has a different origin story of how they got into voice acting, but no matter how that happened, they started out as a performer of some sort. Did you start out wanting to be an actor? What's your background in wanting to perform in front of people?
I think very early on, parents from South America. My dad was British, educated in Buenos Aires or Loma, Argentina. So no accent. My mom, The joke in my act is my mom could peel wallpaper with an H. Hello! You know, but I grew up hearing like Carlitos, no me digas, tienes que hacer cosas, and those vowel sounds. And then I meet this guy, Kevin Heaney, and his parents were from Glasgow, Scotland. And you go over there and there's Uncle Danny, and he's talking, hey, Carlos, I know the rest of the family's Celtic United, but I like Ranger. And don't listen to him, he doesn't even know what he's doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there was all these sounds and characters, and my mom had Russian friends. So I think that's the origin of it. My mom is very gregarious, Methodist minister and a priest, teacher. I think that early bug probably innately started with her. And then like any other kid, growing up in the suburbs in the 60s and 70s, parents are kind of working in cartoons. You know,
what were your go-tos? What were you a fan of? The way that people have been fans of not just the cartoons that you've done, but video games like Spyro the Dragon and so on.
Like I didn't even know it, but there was a show called Kimba the White Lion when I was a kid. Speed Racer, Kimba the White Lion was his name, and I love Kimba, you know. And then Speed, right to Jim, slow down, So, Speed, I'm so worried. I'm your brother, Racer X. It was I couldn't understand why the lip flaps were off. I didn't know about dubbing, but I liked the Pink Panther. I liked Go Go Gophers, Fractured Fairy Tales. You know, Edward Everett Horton.
Edward Everett Horton.
Edward Everett Horton. And then he met a blonde princess, and they lived on a hill. So, unknowingly, I think those were my influences. I love Popeye. Live action. I love the Three Stooges. But I remember the Pink Panther used to have a secondary cartoon called The Inspector and Dudu, which was based on, I guess, Clouseau, and I didn't know it. Like, come, Dudu, we are going to walk. I think, why doesn't he take the subway? You know, there was this kind of French character, and so those were all my go-tos. You know, the Munsters with Fred Gwynn and Al Gorshin, is that his name? Grandpa, Al Lewis.
Al Lewis, yeah.
But yeah, those were all my early television. And then we started watching on PBS, the two Ronnies, Monty Python, Ripping Yarns, and there in Fawlty Towers, and later on in life it was Blackadder, but that was the early British sort of influence. It was like, oh.
And I guess that might be what it eventually led to me being able to do in the neighborhood of an Australian / Cockney accent.
To get Rocko. So I think those were all my early influences.
Did that draw you toward going to acting school, doing sketch, doing improv? What was your start in terms of getting seen and getting out there?
College. I was a jock, played sports. How much do you bench, Carlos? You're not going to do drama, are you?
Dang,
no,
bro.
I'm a jock.
You were jacked with
and I'm
voices.
watching Carol Burnett, and I loved the Carol Burnett sketch show back then. And then I had a professor in college. His name is Ernie Olson. He said, "You're not really a good student, pretty much, but you're really talented with voices. There's a comedy show coming up. Why don't you try that?" There was a place called Harry's Bar and Grill, 4th and H Street in Sacramento, December '84. And I did a contest. I also was doing mime at the time. He had a company called the Leisure Time Mime Company. We would go and perform sketches at schools for the deaf or special needs kids. And that was really cool. We would also do mime inside the student union when guys were trying to study. I'm like, trying to study! It's like, I'm sorry. And then, so the mime and stand-up started in college. And then in '87, I was just telling Lorraine, by the way, Lorraine Newman, Tara Strong.
Studied with Marcel Marceau. Lorraine did.
Yeah, I was telling her this morning that I was in a comedy duo because I had stage fright in Sacramento, and then eventually we jettisoned apart, became on my own, hosted at a club called Laughs Unlimited for like a full year. Then in '87, moved to San Francisco. Tom Kenny was there, Rob Schneider was there, Dana Gould, Bobcat Goldthwait, Robin Williams, did stand up, went on the road in '89. In '91, there was a producer at San Francisco State who was helping Joe Murray out with a project called Rocko's Modern Life. I made a push and play record cassette recording. Hello, this is my voiceover tape. Like, hey, I heard that kid got sick at school. He better stay away from my child. Oh, I'm not going near that boy. And it was like lousy. And I sent it in, and I got this audition, and then that launched me into Rocko. And I stayed in the room by doing Gene Wilder. You are not evil, you are good. Said again. And that made him laugh, and then we started trying voices, and I said,
Well, what about this?
and I picked up a vacuum manual.
If you take hose A and plug it into slot B, make sure that the unit is unplugged.
And they're like, oh, that sounds pretty good. And they sent it off. New York liked it.
One of the earliest credits I saw on your filmography was with Tiny Toon Adventures, directed by Andrea Romano.
Yes.
What Andrea Romano, if you're not familiar, directed Batman the Animated Series, Justice League, everything that everybody loves. What is it about her as a voice director that really stands out, that made your job easy for you?
Yeah, first of all, I had a general meeting with her at Warner Brothers. I remember what's unique about her, I mean, everybody's really good. She was so meticulous and so warm at the same time. Because sometimes you can have a director that's cold or off-putting or makes you feel, there was one director that was the opposite, Sue Blue. Like, your audition, she would go, oh my God, that is so good. So good. And you're like, I've got the job. And then, nothing. But Andrea was, is this better? Yeah, saved my voice. Andrea was just meticulous and warm, and she, again, I grew up with sports. That's my sort of comic books. I love sports. I just love sports. And I was unaware of the history of Bane, and she just picked me to play Bane. And then she described who it was, and then she said, just give me something with a Spanish accent and as low, gravelly register as you can do. So it was her doing that I got to do the voice in the first place, and then it was her direction that provided the sound of what that character would sound like, because she was knowledgeable and she had the information, which I didn't. So
now, I know that in the world of animation voiceover, it was much more common in those days to get to do group records with everybody,
yes,
where everybody's in the same room, and that's less possible. Still happens now.
Yeah.
But you mentioned people like Tom Kenny, who is one of the most lovely people in any business.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's amazing.
Who are your colleagues that are the best at breaking you in the booth? Just absolutely destroying you and ruining everything, such that they have to reel things in.
Tom and I would laugh like a fart in church, like two brothers. What are you doing? It was Tom Kenny. Well, first of all, the first day we walked in, Tom and I were pretty green at voiceover. And he'll tell you this, they couldn't find a heifer, and I said, there's this guy, Tom Kenny, he's really good, and I'll take credit, thank you very much. But we walked in the booth, and Charlie Adler was sitting there, and Tom and I are kind of like, we're new at voiceover, and all the Nickelodeon suits are there, and Charlie's like, oh, Ed dear, what are you doing? Come over here, Rocko, darling. Why are you talking to that little dog? He's a wallaby. And the pages are flying, and Tom and I are like, oh my God, we don't know what we're doing. And then I met Billy West. I remember meeting like Tom, of the same ilk. Genius, super nice.
Billy's like, hey, you know, you just go for your voices and you're great. You're gonna, you know.
He was a good influence, but Tom could get me to laugh. Doug Lawrence, when we were doing Lazlo, Jeff Bennett is amazing. Did you guys watch Camp Lazlo? You familiar? He did Raj. Oh, Lazlo, we are going too fast. We're going to crash. And we would sing Canned Heat and make each other, oh yes, I'm going up the country, man, don't you want to go? And that would drive the casting. So Jeff would, but definitely when we did the Fairly OddParents, Tara Strong, Darren Norris, Suzanne Blakeslee, and they would all get me laughing. They would just always get me. Because you'd foul up a take like, oh mother, I don't know where I'm gonna go with the I'd always read the wrong word. Like it would be like, we're going to the supermarket. We're golfing to the supermarket. No, and they'd all go, no, all in unison, and we'd always just crack each other up.
Speaking of ruining takes, I have to imagine that there's a lot of completely unusable tape that they got on Reno 911, because that is one of the funniest casts in the history of televised comedy.
Yeah, as Ricky Gervais would say, I was often corpsing, which is to laugh and ruin a scene. I was notorious. You can go back and watch. There's a scene where Niecy Nash, who's on Claws, it was playing TT, her character TT, faces buzzed, and there was two of them. They was midgets, no. And we had to tell TT that she did not win the lottery because she had a California ticket and not a Nevada, and she reacts by grabbing a gumball machine. Ah! And I literally have to run off camera. Cedric was always busting me up on that show. There was one scene, you'll never see this, and it's too bad. I wish it was on bonus features. We had a Latino man, very funny guy, and the premise is that the sheriffs get a new DVD player in their car, to look at research. But no, of course, we go by a video store and we buy what we think is a porno, and we put it in the video, and it's Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down, which is Almodovar, which is Antonio Banderas, who kidnaps an actress that he's in love with, but it's sort of out of respect, if you will, and so the joke is that it's a foreign language. There's no sex happening, so we pick up this Latino man on the corner, like, you get in our car. He's like, wait, ¿por qué? Just get in our car. What's happening? And Cedric's like, oh, look at that scene, because there's a guy in a wheelchair that's in love with her too. Antonio Banderas is saving the actors from the sleazy Weinstein producer guy, and he's an old man. And first of all, Cedric and kids here, yeah. Okay, I won't say that part. Cedric is commenting about how the old man looks south of the border. And then this guy goes, here's the story. This man is saving her from the other man. He is in love with her, but she does not love him. That bitch! And I didn't see it coming, and no matter how many times, I couldn't hold it together, and I completely ruined the sketch. One of the ones, and you can find this on the box set, was Wendy McClendon-Covey, Goldberg's. There's an episode where Wendy thinks she's pregnant. It turns out being just a cyst. But while she's pregnant, she thinks she needs to have a husband to raise this baby. So she literally sort of auditions every man on the force. And there's a scene where Garcia's out to dinner with her, trying to impress her. And I'm ordering for her, like, I'll have the vegetarian chili and the chicken quesadillas, and the lady will have, and she didn't know this, so I reach into my pocket, something of less than or equal value. And she lost it, and it took a good 10 takes, and we were cracking each other, because even though she heard it before, as soon as I started to reach for my pocket, that was it. So that was a show that was almost impossible to keep all the footage, because we were constantly cracking each other up.
And not only did you play Deputy Garcia, but as with everybody in the cast, you doubled as face garbled,
yes.
Other people. Were there any of those that were particular favorites of yours to just let loose?
Although politically incorrect, Chief Carl was a guy that would, oh, you guys are the cops. Your guys are a couple of black cats. A Native American character. And in hindsight, and especially in today's climate, probably not acceptable, but I did love Chief Carl because he was sweet. I think I played the Scottish guy on his wedding day who's getting who's getting two things earlier than his honeymoon, and actually my face is digitized out, but you see the shot in the mirror and it's clearly me. Gosh, I'm trying to think of who else I got to play on that show, but I remember those two fondly. So I'm trying to think, but I don't remember. I don't remember who else I played.
Well, I mentioned earlier, a number of shows that you were on that made up a lot of people's childhoods. I wonder, have you gotten to play a franchise character that did mean something to you? I mean, granted, you were big into athletics, but were there any of these characters that you've gotten to do, or that maybe mean something to family members or friends or something that was just neat to be able to do that for a while?
First of all, Rocko, because he's nearest and dearest and he's sweet and he came back in the special.
I'll always revere Rocko. And then here's a story I'll tell about. We are so lucky that people like yourselves think that what we do is cool. And I didn't understand the connection of why you like it so much. Because I guess you spend a lot of time with our characters, and particularly Spyro the Dragon. People really love. I did the original Spyro, watch out for Nasty Nork, and I didn't think it was that much of a voice. And people go, I love Spyro. I've played it so long, and I didn't kind of understand why it meant so. And then one day I'm talking, and if you know the voiceover community, I'm talking to Fred Tatasciore and Dee Bradley Baker, who I know. They're my friends. They're amazing. And I said, I stink at video games. The only game I know how to play is Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. And Fred goes, I'm Boomer. And Dee goes, I'm the Spitter. And I'm like, oh my God, no way. You would know, oh my God, you got it. And I got nervous. I quote unquote fanboyed out. And then I went, oh, now I get it. I spent so many hours trying to beat Boomer and the Spitter. And I couldn't conceive that it was a human being or my colleagues. And I just thought it beyond everything that Dee and Fred do. No, you're Boomer and you're the Spitter. I don't care. And it means a lot to me. Yeah. So Spyro is one of those characters that is a franchise character, and it went from Tom Kenny to Elijah Wood, Jess Harnell, and but people will come up to me with Spyro and go, you made my childhood. And I'm like, I get it. Thank you. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing.
You mentioned Dee Bradley Baker. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention to aspiring intended voice actors in the audience. There's a great website called iwannabeavoiceactor.com. Yes. If you want to know, he has done a bunch of the homework for you, and you don't have to pay usurious fees like some people try to charge people who want to get into voiceover. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about a couple other things, and then turn it over to the audience. A deeper cut, something that lasted for a season, a show called Tina, which in its day, it was like 2002, it centered around a Latin American young woman. You did maybe an episode on it. Okay. The reason I bring it up, the reason I bring it up is I wonder what it was like growing up Latino, because my experience was that I just did not see a lot of our background on TV other than, somebody with one or two lines. Yeah. Where did you look for representation growing up? Or were you conscious of it?
I didn't remember. And your first name is Moises. Yeah. And I know that from Moises Alou, the Alou brothers, baseball players. Yeah. Giants, Cubs, everybody. Didn't wear batting gloves. Yeah. Comic books, sports.
Did you know that Moises Alou didn't? Yeah.
I just remember, I'm pretty white, and Argentinians in general are mostly, they're everything now. Yeah. Korean, Czechoslovakian, Croatian. My family's Alazraquis, like that lineage is Sephardic Jews from Spain, and my mom's Swiss, Italian, and French, grew up Episcopalian. But I remember the guy, early on reading, somebody said that the father from Lost in Space was Mexican. Or Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, was half Latina. Yeah. But I didn't identify with that. The climate when we grew up was, entonces yo puedo hablar un poco de español. No totalmente soy bilingüe. I can sound pretty good. So we stopped speaking Spanish, become American. I actually won the All-American Boy Award in high school in my senior banquet. But I didn't identify with Latin characters per se because I was white. And so it was easier for me because of who I was just to identify with it. And the thing that put me on the map as a quote-unquote Latin character was the Taco Bell Chihuahua. I don't know that it played here in Canada. It was obviously a big commercial. And did you guys ever... Yo quiero Taco Bell, viva gorditas. So it was huge. It got me on Hollywood Squares. And that, after that,
Because I started with Rocko, then Winslow and Cat Dog. Hey, Cat Dog!
and Spyro, all in the same octave, by the way, brilliantly deciphered. It wasn't until I did the Taco Bell Dog that it put me, and then a show called Comedy Compadres with my friend Jeff Valdez as a producer, that I started to identify more with Latin characters, and then realized, oh yeah, those people do have a Latin, the Lamas, Lorenzo Lamas, and guys like that. But I didn't really have to look for those quote unquote people that look like me, because white people look like me. So.
You were in the Book of Life for
Yes.
Jorge Gutierrez, wonderful movie that I love that it and Coco can both exist and be different kinds of movies
Yep.
about the land of the dead. What was that production like? Were you able? Did they have a lot of the concept art at the point that you guys recorded that?
Yeah, first of all, myself, Gray DeLisle, and Toronto's very own amazingly talented Eric Bauza, we were asked by Jorge Gutierrez to scratch the entire film. So I played Ron Perlman's part, and et cetera, et cetera. We did like 10 or 13 characters. And it was out of Real Effects in Dallas. And I had worked with George and Sandra Aquino on Pepe the Bull and El Tigre. And so the art design of Jorge and Sandra is just amazing. But all through the process, Jorge knew what he wanted. He had a vision. And in the end, I got to play Posada. People of San Angel, we need this mighty brigade. And then, oh, you pick yourself a feisty one. And then Chewy. Bip, 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 bip. It was supposed to be a goat, but then he turned him into a pig. But all along, it was just wonderful, because you knew how beautiful this thing was going to be and how amazing. In the end, we did all these characters, and Fox in the studios said, okay, when are we going to replace Gray and Eric? And both Jorge and Guillermo del Toro went to the mat for us. They went, nope, this is funny. These guys are great. These guys are in. And so super thankful for that. And he's always been, he's like, every show I do, Carlos, I got to put you in it. You're my magic touch. So he's put me in a lot of things. So hopefully El Tigre could make a comeback, because that was a beautiful cartoon on Nickelodeon. It was short-lived.
Yeah. You mentioned Guillermo del Toro, and one of the things that I found from knowing him a little bit is that he is the nerd's nerd that is now Academy Award winning and everything, but he stands by his people. He stands by the right choices.
Yeah.
He stands by the right picture of the art. What were your experiences interacting with him, if you interacted with him?
I never got to interact with El Maestro, is what Jorge calls him, but just hearing, and I trust George, hearing that he went to the mat for us, I would have to say that was a positive, indirect interaction with him. And this just came to light, but being from a Latin background, I just did an interview about Static Cling I think it's what gave me an ear for other voices. If you grow up hearing, if your parents are from Germany or Switzerland or Poland or whatever, if you're growing up hearing a different dialect, if you're aspiring voice actors, really tune into that. Copy your parents. Because I was imitating John and Mary Haney all the time, and Kevin and Anne had no idea how to do a Scottish accent. And you live there. You're 24/7 with your parents, and you can't do it. So I encourage people that if you have a friend or whomever or a show, we were lucky enough to have that. Carlitos, fideos con manteca. Different vowel noise sounds and different ways to say things, Carne asada, carne asada.
So I've got one more for you, and then I'm going to turn it over to the audience. When you take a voice that originates with somebody else, like Mike Wazowski, originated by Billy Crystal, or something like, I saw that you did the voice of Steve Jobs in something or another. How do you study for sounding alike to something like that there is either an impression that you were trying to match, or it is a well-known franchise character like that?
Some of the best of the business are Bowser, Jim Meskimen, Ross Marquand from Walking Dead, who does Brad Pitt, Fred Tatasciore, who does Dustin Hoffman. But I studied, somebody said, you're in the same range as Billy Crystal. This is in 2001. I said, I don't think so. He goes, yeah, you're a tenor, you can get him. I want you to audition for Mike Wazowski, sound-alike stuff. I'm like, eh. And back in those days, I bought a videotape of Forget About Paris. It's where he's the basketball referee and falls in love with Deborah Winger.
And it's got William Hickey in it. Donuts. You asked for it, you got it. Hello, Sally.
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Come on, Sally.
So I'm watching a movie, and then I put the VHS in, and there's one particular scene where he's on a bench, and he's saying, I know we just met, and you don't have to hit everything, but could you give me an occasional highlight or two? Like, oh yeah, I've been out of the country for 4 years. I got 2 brothers with bad ears, and oh yeah, I'm married. And so married right there was where it got him to Wazowski. So I kept watching that scene over again. I know the other day, and then I started watching the way his face moves, and the Bronx duh is a duh. Are we going to the park or not? We got to do this soft D's, almost like Spanish. And so I just kept watching the way his face moved. I got a physical reference. And so for the first 10 4-hour sessions of Mike Wazowski, they had to play, I'm married. That because I would start to get too muppety. Like, hey, Sully, no, that's not it. Sully, what are we going to do? No, still dropping. You're married. Okay, I'm right there. And then it was like, oh boy, what a news. You're driving me crazy. Are you kidding? And then before I knew it, I wasn't thinking about Billy Crystal anymore. I was watching the lip flap of Mike. That top lip is very bendy, Hey, Ross, did I mention you're looking good today? You're looking lovely. Yes, you are. Oh, brother. And so I started imagining the green guy instead of Billy Crystal, but it took hours and hours. But so now I think I can do it in my sleep. I'm just right there. So,
We got questions out there? Anybody? Anybody? Right. That was the first hand I saw.
What do you view on Casa Grande?
Casa Grandes. I play a nerdy white guy named Carlos, so there's a stretch. Yes, Carlos. He's very into facts and figures.
Pardon me? I'm the dad. And then I play Sergio, the parrot. Oh boy, brother, what? Here we go. Oh, mole! Mine! Sergio, the parrot, and dad. And then I play this guy, Vito Villipondo. He's this guy who always walks in his shop. He's like, I hope you got watermelons. And I didn't think that the character was, until I saw the animation, and it was one of those lucky ones where that voice actually matches the way the character looks. Because that happens sometimes in animation, where you're just given a character and they ask you to do something, and it might be like, I want you to play the farmer, and you're like, hey, them cows gotta get inside the barn because it's gonna rain. And then it's some big guy, and you're like, that doesn't match, that's not my fault. They didn't show me the animation. So I play those 3 characters on the Casa Grandes.
Back in the back.
Yeah, I was wondering on Reno, how much of the dialogue was ad-lib versus what was scripted, and was ad-libbing encouraged on set?
It was encouraged. We were just given a premise. The famous one with Cedric and I was good cop, bad cop, which we turned into a rehearsal. It was good cop, black cop. And so they just said, go. And I said, we're here. We're going to shake down this guy. What's going to happen is I'm going to go in first, talk to him a little bit, and then Cedric will go, Jones will go in there later and sort of break him down and get him to talk. It's called good cop, black cop. He's like, what? Yeah, it's called good cop, black cop. No, it's not good cop, black cop. It's good cop, bad cop. Black cop, bad cop, same thing. Okay, you just talk, and then we just go from there, and it turns into a fight. There's brilliant things that happen out of improv. We went to investigate Jones and Garcia. Here's the premise that you're given: Jones and Garcia go to investigate children trying to jump their motocross bikes from one rooftop to another. They go up, something bad happens, they take off. That's all we're given. So this kid was great. This little kid, he made up the line and we went with it. He said, okay, what are you guys doing? And we're trying to jump and we both love The Sopranos. We're trying to jump our bikes from this roof to this roof. So we walk over and we go, oh! Which is something Tony would always do. Oh, no, that's not gonna happen. You're not gonna do that. And he goes, oh, I'll bet you I can do it. And so I heard the word bet, and I'm like, oh, you bet me? Okay, Kenny Rogers. Okay, Mr. Gamblers. I got $3. Jones, how much you got? You got $5? Here's 8 Washoe County dollars that says that you cannot jump. And so these officers turn into betting these kids. But it was all because of what he said. The best example of listening to improv was Wendy McClendon Covey, because she was a groundling. There was a guy, Kyle Dunnigan, who played the Truckee River Killer. Yeah, what was his name? But he talked like this. But it started off as a one-off character whose ice cream cone spilled on the ground and just saying, oh, these kids, they came and knocked my ice cream. They knocked my ice cream to the ground. And Weigel and Wendy are investigating. And he goes, well, I guess I just go home and take care of my cats. She hears cats, knows that Weigel's character is into cats, and goes, well, Weigel loves cats. They start speaking to each other. It turns into a whole scene. And then that ice cream guy, because of what Wendy heard with the cats and associated, turns into like an 8-episode arc for this character, just based on the fact that she listened and put 2 and 2 together. So, but it was always that. The premise is Garcia, goes to take Jackie, the pickle-throwing lady of the night, kids, to the rehab place. They go out to dinner. Things ensue. We would always just make it up. And it was fun. It was pretending. And Kenny Rogers episode where I'm driving Kenny Rogers to the mall because he's super popular and we think that he's being followed. So Weigel dresses up as Kenny Rogers as a decoy, although she looks like Colonel Sanders. And then I'm taking him on this circuitous route, and I watched a bunch of gambler movies and I had a notepad. He didn't know what I was going to say, and he went with me. And I'm just like, so in that movie, The Gambler Won, when you were sneaking out in the coffin, and he was like, oh my goodness. And he was, so we just made up a bunch of stuff. So
Any references
he was
to
good.
Six-Pack?
Or
just gambler movies?
No, just gambler movies.
That was that's a good
And I
one.
said, I wrote this song. It's called "Woman, You're Up on That Horse, and I Adore You." He said, are you talking about the song "Lady"? And he was on it.
Improv work with Kenny Rogers up here.
With Rocko, this release on Netflix, were you surprised or hoping that they would have brought Rocko back sooner?
Yeah, we were surprised. We recorded in November of 2016. Charlie and Doug and Tom, Linda Wallum, who was Kate, Dr. Hutchinson, Jill Talley, Steve Little, a couple others. And yeah, we were excited. We didn't think it was coming back as a series. We knew that it was only a 44-minute special. When we went to Comic-Con in 2017, they showed the trailer, we're all excited, and then and we waited and we had no idea. And then, once we got the announcement that it was going to be on Netflix, super excited. Because I think in the end, they showed the Hey Arnold special on Nickelodeon during Thanksgiving. I played Eduardo, the real Eduardo. And it did okay. And I think that sort of scared Nickelodeon away from like pushing out Zim and Rocko on that platform. Because even though you have a DVR, you certainly can't stream it over and over again. And I think they found that with Rocko, my experience is that we have a younger audience now, and people tend to stream and watch on that platform, and Nickelodeon didn't have its own streaming platform quite yet. I think they're working towards that.
A couple people watch Netflix.
Yeah,
now and
a
again.
couple people. So that, in the end, waiting that long and putting on Netflix was the best choice, I think. So we were excited when we knew it was going to be on Netflix. Yeah.
Right there? Yeah. You.
Hello.
Decades of work and all different voices and accents. Do you ever get them mixed up in your head when you're about to record or quote something?
If they're really if it's a new character, and like if I'm doing Vito Villalpando and maybe
Carlos in the same sketch.
they're so disparate that that's fine. I work it out. But no, because they're generally not being recorded together. Sometimes you're on a show and you have characters that dance around in the same octaves, and you're like, let me do this one first, make sure we got it. What's one I just worked on? Oh, there's a show. I think I can mention it. It's based on a Filipino comic book. If I can't, I'll find out. It's called Trece. And it's Tagalog, Manila accent, and Mr. Eric Bausa helped me out, and I had a college professor, but I play 3 characters in that, and I prefer to do those one at a time because I think one character might bleed into the next. But generally with the characters that we've known for so many years, like I could do Crocker, Denzel Crocker, and Crocker's mother at the same time. Denzel, mommy needs you to come into the bathroom. No way! That was actually a line from the show. Denzel, will you help mommy with a dress? Yes. I mean, no! But I remember whole scripts going back and forth between the characters because they were disparate. But when they're in the same kind of range, you just want to lay out. And here's some cheats. If you did see the Taco Bell Chihuahua, yo quiero Taco Bell. Fast forward 27 years later to the movie Inside Out and the Brazilian helicopter pilot. Come, fly with me, gallina. If you watch Reno 911, hey, you know what? If you don't get down off that, Jones and I are going to take you to prison, okay? You're going to get some stick time. Fast forward to Inside Out, fear inside the dad's head. Sir, I'm detecting a high level of sass. The foot is down, the foot is down. So, there's a little cheat.
Anybody else?
Recycling.
Anybody? All right.
What's my... I grew up playing everything under the sun. Fast pitch baseball, stickball. I was a high school football player. Then I was too small to pursue that after high school. I played college in 6th grade, soccer in 6th grade and 7th grade. Then 4 years of high school football, 2 years of junior college and track, high school track, and then 2 years at a University of Sacramento, track and soccer, and then intramural football, and that was it. But I was mainly soccer and football growing up, American football. Swimming too.
To wrap things up, you mentioned earlier that figuring out what Spyro the Dragon meant to people took some time for you to comprehend it, to understand it.
Yeah.
You have been part of so many super prominent things, some cool cult stuff like Moonbeam City, stuff that like just looks weird on paper, looks interesting on paper. You never know what's going to be a hit, what's going to get popular. Is there anything that when just looking at the concept art, you went, this is interesting. I don't know how this is going to turn out, that really surprised you with what the end product ended up?
I was going to say El Tigre and Book of Life. It didn't surprise me, but knew that it would be iconic looking. And now that I'm seeing the coloring, there has been a Casa Grande, a couple that have aired. The coloring and the color palette on the Casa Grandes is so magnificent. You feel like, and then what it is, Elena Vavalor is also very beautiful too. Mm-hmm. I played Skylar. Let's go, Princesa. Wow Wow Wubsy, just the purples and the yellows. But I haven't even seen the animation on Trece, this Filipino, but I know it's based on a Filipino graphic novel. And it just feels to me, it's very dramatic, it's very dark. And there's a young female lead named Alexandra. And that feels like, I get to say I'm part of that. That just feels like it's going to be, because it's going to be Netflix. There was a HBO one, it was a series. It was the director of Transformers, Robots and something, Reeds and Robots.
But I played a guy that talked like this. You're in a whole lot of trouble now.
But that one, I saw the animation and I knew that it was going to be, pardon me?
Love, Death, and Robots. I played that guy, the mechanical head, but he was kind of almost a Sam Elliott type of guy, Cool, banquet beer.
I saw the animation on that and thought, it's going to look cool. Very heavy metal looking in the movie Heavy Metal.
So before we finish, a couple of quick program notes. In this room at 12:30, Lorraine Newman, her Q&A was originally tomorrow. It got moved, said some schedule changes. Wanted to let you guys know about that. We've got, I think you're doing a live script reading sometime tomorrow.
Good.
With the Twisted Tunes people.
Good, Twisted Tunes, good, yes.
You're here all the way through Sunday?
All the way through Sunday.
So if you want to get up close and personal with Mr. Alazraqui, go see him at his table. Can we get a round of applause for the crew that runs this show? And can we keep it going and blow the roof off the place for the one, the only Mr. Carlos Alazraqui?
And thank you. I apologize for being late. We was not made aware, but we made it. We did it. So we got it all in.
That's, first big day of the show.
Yes. And there's so many talented people here, Bowser and Tara Strong and Lorraine, and so you guys are going to have a blast.
Cool. Thanks,
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Let's take a picture. This is nice. I'm going to take a selfie. Well, hey, wait. Yay! Yay! And yay! Yay. Oh, I flipped it. Sorry. Later that same day. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Come on by.